To begin our unit on op art inspired by artist Bridget Riley, we'll make two different sketches of two different styles of op art. Op, of course, stands for optical, so these artworks relate to the way we see different things. For the first style, we'll need a ruler that we'll just use as a straight edge. We're not actually going to be measuring with it. And you'll draw all these steps with pencil. I'm going to use a marker just so you can see my lines a little clearly. I'll begin with a dot in about the middle of this rectangle. This rectangle represents a full-size art paper. So we're making two sketches first. That's why we're starting with this practice style. After I have my dot in the middle, I'm going to slide the ruler so that it touches the dot, then hold it down firmly with my other hand and make a line all the way across, clear from one side to the other. It doesn't have to line up with the corners. Mine just happened to. Then, on the same point, I'm going to rotate my ruler. So I'm basically rotating the ruler while anchored to this one point and make another line. It doesn't have to be up and down either. It can be any angle. Can I make my next line here? No, because the ruler isn't going through the same point. But now I could, because the ruler is going through the point. When you're using your ruler, make sure you're lining up the edge of the ruler, not the middle of the ruler, because the edge is where the line is going to go. And pay attention to which edge you are drawing against. I'll trace through this central point until I have about 4 or 5 total lines. And since they go through the point, it really makes it look like twice as many. I think I might add just one more right here. Once I have a lot of my lines, I'm going to want to start making some shapes that alternate every time they cross the line. Like a letter U, but when it crosses, it flips the other way. This might take a little practice if you've never done it before, which is why we have this practice sheet before we start our final artwork. I'm going to go all the way around. Every time I cross a line, my shape changes directions, and it should match up perfectly if you drew your lines all the way across in that first step. Then I'm going to do the same thing and follow the same shape as the first time. So where it goes in, my marker goes in. Where it goes out, my marker goes out. Instead of going all the way around, if you want to go section by section, if that's easier, that's an option as well. There's often different ways to draw things. So art can be about taking time to experiment and find out what works for you. But we really want to fill the whole space. So I even made this line in this section here to sort of keep my lines at a consistent distance. And notice they're not like super close together. I'm not doing the next line here so that I have like 20,000 lines, because that would take a lot of time to trace. There is a little bit of space between each row. As I'm tracing around, I really want to be mindful when I'm drawing, so I can be thinking carefully and intentionally and trying my best. After you fill in all of the spaces, it might look something like, here I've done this pie wedge. They're all pointing to the pointing inwards. The curve points to the middle. Then I'll do the next pie wedge where they all point out. Make sure my line touches the edge as neatly and carefully as possible. I could even do one more tiny little line here to really make it the illusion looks like it keeps going. Next section goes in. Uh-oh, it's a gap. Let's make it touch. Should these curves, the next ones, point to the edge of the paper, or should they point to the middle of the paper? They should follow the one that we started with, which is the curve is pointing to the edge. And then when we get to this one, it flips. And there we go. That's style number 1 all finished. For op art style number 2, we're going to start this time with a wavy line. I don't want it to be super tight up and down 1,000 times, maybe just a gently curved line that goes up once or twice, up and down once or twice. Something like that. Then we're going to add several columns. Again, gentle curves, not super tight, extreme zigzag curves. So gentle curve. And again, my lines go all the way to the edge of the paper or the top and the bottom of the paper. Then I'm going to make sort of like a coffee bean shape along the middle. Here's what I mean by that. I'm going to start at the edge and go up and down from this corner. I have to match the corners each time. So from corner to corner, corner to corner, that's how I'll do it. Corner to corner. Can I start up here? No, because that's not the corner. Once I've done these shapes for the top, then I'll do them the other way on the bottom. Corner to corner, corner to corner. And now that we have the top and the bottom, I think it kind of looks like a coffee bean. Or just a really cool design. Then, where my lines are pointing to the top of the paper, I'm going to make more curves pointing to the top. So this curve is like a rainbow shape. So let's make more of these same rainbow shapes. All the way up till we get to the edge. I can go off and back on again. And these should touch the edge of the column as I go. Where it points to the bottom, kind of like the letter U, or a very wide stretched out letter U, I'll make more of those letter U lines. I'll do this for each of the columns. Now, these artworks don't really look that three-dimensional yet. The illusion isn't very complete. It'll look a lot more convincing when we get to the part of adding value and color. Today, we're just creating our outline where we can then add value and color. So we're starting with the outline, and if it doesn't look like an optical illusion yet, that's okay, because it'll look more convincing once we start to add color. I'm going to continue this same pattern of lines that either point up or point down till I've filled in this whole space. There we go, and we have our outlines all ready to go. So we've got our two styles, style 1 and style 2. Next we'll add color and value to create that illusion. Color is any of the hues we choose to add to our picture, and value is how light or dark something is. If I am coloring with a colored pencil and pressing very hard and making the colored pencil as dark as I possibly can, also burnishing it, I'm creating a dark value. But if I'm coloring with the colored pencil and not pressing as hard, I'm creating a lighter value. In these margins of your paper, you can see how many different values you can get out of one colored pencil by pressing either really hard or really lightly. We'll need to do this to achieve our op art effect. After I've practiced getting different values out of one colored pencil, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at just one of those pie pieces of the first style of op art. Where I have these straight edges that I created with a ruler, I'm going to want to make it really dark. So I'm pressing hard with my colored pencil. I'll do that on both edges. As it goes towards the middle, and I can even imagine another line straight through the middle. That's my imaginary line. I've drawn it with a pencil so you can visualize it. I want to get lighter. So I'm going to start out really dark, medium, light. And I can do that for each of these different pie pieces, dark, medium, light. I really want to make sure I'm going all the way to the top and the bottom each time so that it looks consistent and it starts to create that illusion. Once I finish one sort of section, I'll switch colors and do the same thing. Dark near the edges, really pressing hard, medium, light, dark, medium, light. As well near the edge, dark, medium, light, dark, medium, light. You can see by changing up the value, it's starting to make it look like it has three-dimensional form. And that'll be even more the case once I finish the whole row. This area is so small I only have room for the dark and the medium. The light section would be about right here, which is outside of my box. And the same is true for the middle. So dark, medium, light. It's just on a smaller area. Once I'm done one pie wedge, I can focus on the next pie wedge. So I'll do the same thing. Dark, medium, light in the middle. Dark, medium, light in the middle. Dark, medium, light in the middle. Uh-oh, there's white spots at the top and the bottom. Those are breaking the illusion, so I want to go back in and really make sure my color goes all the way from the top to the bottom. This is an artwork that rewards attention to detail. You can really see it's starting to look 3D. And it'll look even more convincingly when we do all of these different shapes. Let's add value and color to our second style. This one we're going to use a really similar effect. Where I have these vertical lines, that'll be where I want to add dark. And where I have this middle of the column, that'll be where I want it to be light. So if I were starting here, I would start dark near the edge of this section. And then I can imagine again my really light part in the middle. You don't have to draw this line. This is just so you can see what I am imagining. And as it gets closer, it gets lighter. I like to go from dark to light. I think that's the easiest, quickest way to do it with my pencil. And if I need to, I can go back and smooth out that value change. Then I'll switch colors, do the same thing. Dark, medium, light. Dark, medium, light. And I would keep going until I have all of these filled in. As you go, the more you do, the more it will look like an optical illusion. You can use more colors than I am. I just happen to grab 4 different pencils to show you. I find that the darker a colored pencil is, the easier it is to see that change in value. If I was trying to do these steps with a yellow pencil, because yellow is the color that's lightest in value, it would be hard to see the difference between me pressing my hardest with the yellow and me pressing really light. So if you're starting out with a color, keep that in mind. Darker colors like dark blues or dark greens are going to show that color or value transition a lot more easily than a color that doesn't start with a dark value. I'm so excited to see which of these op art artworks you choose to practice. We'll try our best as we go.